The Marlborough Safari Rally is rightly considered by both organisers and competitors as the toughest event in the World Championship calendar, as a win in Kenya is not as predictable as on some of the other rallies in the series. Scrutineering took place under a sky heavy with rain clouds, the weather being a major factor in the fortunes of any rally team competing on this Easter Classic. Safari veterans are the Japanese Nissan team, 7 times the winners. And they have the uncrowned king of the rally, Shekhar Mehta, in the leading Marlborough-sponsored 240 RS. He is the only driver to have won the event 4 times in succession, from 1979 through to 1982. With Salonen having departed to Peugeot, Mehta has emerged as undisputed team leader and is joined by newcomer Alan Ambrosino and Mike Kirkland. His outing last year brought to an early demise when he had a leg broken by a hit-and-run driver. All 3 factory entrants use the lighter Evolution version of the 240 RS, which has a 2.4-litre engine to give improved low-speed torque and increased power in a lighter body. With Walter Röhrl having persuaded the powers that be that it wasn't really necessary for him to go to Kenya, Audi is left with 2 cars for Hannu Mikkola and Stig Blomqvist. With Mikkola in the coveted #1 spot and Blomqvist at 11, Audi has an immediate servicing advantage. The team even had its own helicopter flown to Kenya from Germany in the hold of a jumbo jet.
Roland, how concerned are the Audi team about the current domination of the Peugeot 205 in rallying?
It's going up and down, but you can't say that we are so slow compared with Peugeot. For example, in Portugal it was only good luck for them and for us bad luck because we were leading all the rally. Nearly up to the end.
That's right. Now what about the current development of the Audi Quattro? What are you doing to try and redress the balance?
As you saw in Portugal, our car is quick enough, and in this rally we are using a new gearbox which is stronger, so we will hope that we can finish in a good position.
And you feel that this year could be your lucky year on the Safari, do you?
I hope so. The cars are well prepared and the drivers are very happy with the cars.
Thanks very much, Robert.
Okay.
Thank you.
As Röhrl has now effectively opted out of the title chase, Blomqvist becomes Audi's main hope. The reigning champion currently 3rd in the drivers' points table, 5 points behind Vatanen. However, the Safari hasn't been kind to the Swede. This is his 3rd attempt at finishing.
Stig, a lot of the experts are predicting that this could be Audi's year for the Safari. Are you that confident?
No, so far, because the car is very good now. And it's been working very well during the practice.
And what about the weather? Is that going to help you? Reports of very heavy rain in the north.
Yeah, okay, if it's raining, for sure they help the 4-wheel drive cars. So and for me it helps a lot because of the dust.
You're a little bit critical of your seating number, I believe. Is that going to affect you?
No, okay, if it's very dusty, of course, but okay, it's the same for all, so it's what to do. Can't complain about that. But okay, of course, then you hope for rain.
So how much practice have you done for the event?
No, just normal Africa practice, I think, 1 time.
Spread over how long? How long does it take you to do that?
No, take about 1 week.
For the first time in many events, Peugeot do not start favourites with their 205 T16. 3 cars have been entered for Ari Vatanen, Timo Salonen and Bruno Sabi. As Portugal served to underline, the double wishbone rear suspension of the T16 can cause problems, and as a result the three 205s in Kenya have been considerably beefed up. The modifications including reinforced inner wings, additional protection for rear wing mounted radiators and better dust proofing.
This is a different rally, you know, this speed is not so important here. Anyway, our plan is that we just try to go through first and second leg, and after we look what is.
Now, the suspension problems that plagued the team to an extent in Portugal, have they been cured for this event?
Anyway, I think so, yes, because we didn't have any problem during practicing.
So you're quite confident you're going to get a good result?
I am, yes, very happy about the car, you know. But of course, when you start rally, your speed is faster. You never know, but feeling is anyway now, it's very good.
So what are conditions like out there? It's a very overcast today. Has there been any rain?
I heard this morning that there is some areas there is a lot of rain. It means that maybe muddy safari this year.
And that's going to help the four-wheel drive car?
Yes, sure, but you know, if there is really mud, you are stuck still.
Whether you got four-wheel drive or not?
Yes, because it doesn't matter how many wheels you are in up if you are completely stuck.
Yeah. Well, we hope you don't get stuck too, huh?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers. Harry, you've done an awful lot of practice for this year's safari, starting quite a few months ago. How are things going for you?
Well, when we started a few months ago in November, we only did some testing. Nothing to do with the practice. We didn't do any of the notes. In terms of practice, we have only covered the route once, which is the minimum you do in safari. But that's sufficient. I'm waiting what's happening. I think that our car, I mean, basically it's a very good car, strong car, but on a rally like this, we may find something new, something we haven't been aware of, and therefore I think all of us are going to take it gently.
Now, the rear suspension problem that caused your retirement in Portugal, you think the team have got that cured for this event, do you?
Well, and that wasn't. That was a very. That was a freak one. I mean, the ball joint was loose. The nut was loose before it went. So I don't think that was any genuine problem. So, but generally, I fear that suspension is going to be suspension is going to take a lot of hammering in this rally.
So what are the team tactics for the event then?
Take it easy generally, I would have thought. Just not to be rushing, not to start with anyway.
And see where you are at the end of the second leg, perhaps?
Well, something like that. Yeah. You never know how it works out. If it starts raining heavily, then it's a matter of fighting to get to the end of the section. Then you don't worry about time or anything, just try to keep on going. I mean, it might be one of those safaris.
Lancia has put in a considerable amount of time and effort trying to get the 037 right in Kenya. It hasn't been easy for the Martini-backed factory team. The outings in warm-up Kenya National Championship events were dogged by transmission problems. Lancia, like the other two-wheel drive runners, is praying for a dry safari and better luck than last year on the 037's debut when Marco Elaine came only fourth. Neither Elaine nor team boss Cesare Fiorio are particularly fond of the safari, but are not blinkered enough to ignore the kudos of winning the event. It is this fact which has persuaded the factory to field 3 cars, its biggest effort so far.
It's nice to see you behind the wheel of the 037 again, but I expect you prefer to be out in the Delta on this event.
Well, I am in testing in the Delta now in 3 weeks ago, and it's going well, but I am also in accident in asphalt in 3 weeks ago. But now car is going better and better, but still is many problems.
So when do you think we'll see it on the World Championship scene?
In the World Championship, I hope 1,000 legs. And maybe you see also I go in testing in Costa Smeralda after in Safari 2 weeks.
Now what about your tactics for this event then?
In Safari, I don't know, in tactic is difficult here, but that's the only rally you go all the time. And you know, you must be lucky. You're not having stuck in Madio like this, and also I hope it's weather is not so much raining, only shower like this, and after my car is good in here.
The Opel factory team now confines itself to this one World Championship rally a year. Tony Fall trying to recapture their 1983 success when Ari Vatanen took victory. Rauno Aaltonen would love to take the win that has eluded him for so long. And we ask him how he feels this year's event will go.
Rauno, you've been trying to win the Safari now for about 20 years. Is this going to be your year, do you think?
Well, the first 10 years were learning. And since then we have had a bit more success. What about this year? All we can say that we don't know of any technical problems. The car looks good. We had an extremely good recce. So it's really the question of who has good and who has bad luck.
Now, what's the development on the Opel side? We hear all sorts of rumours about a four-wheel drive Astra. Is that true?
Well, it's true that every manufacturer is preparing themselves for the new car, four-wheel drive, and so is certainly Opel. Our present Manta is doing very well, and therefore we think that we shouldn't give up the Manta with its famous reliability yet, but continue for some time. And once the four-wheel drive is totally ready, then we'll step in with that car.
And when it does, of course, we still expect to see you doing the Safari Rally.
I hope so, yes, certainly.
Following its unprecedented debut win last year, all eyes will be on Toyota, the German-based organisation fielding 3 Celica turbos for Bjorn Voldegaard, Juha Kankkunen and newcomer David Horsey. The superior top speed of the Celica was a major factor in Voldegaard's win last year, along with the amazing reliability of the 350 brake horsepower car. And if it stays dry, and this is very doubtful, then the Swede must be in with a chance of scoring his 3rd ever Safari win, particularly as Kankkunen is making his debut and local Horsey has only limited experience of the Celica, having previously driven a Peugeot 504 pickup to surprisingly good effect.
Juha, this is your first Safari Rally. How are you looking forward to it?
Yes, it's first rally, but I have been testing here quite a lot, and I have been in Ivory Coast, done it once, and of course it's difficult, different rally than Europe Championship rallies or Europe rallies, but I think I like this rally, and this rally I start to liking more and more this country when I have been here so long much, and difficult to say yet, but I think if it's not raining, we have quite good chance.
As scrutineering draws to a close, crews eye the ominous rain clouds and wonder what lies ahead during the next 5 days and 6,000 kilometres of punishing competition. The following day, 300 kilometres south of Nairobi in the tighter hills, the first of the tight sections where crews are expected to drop time. Up to this point, competitors have been able to push on, flat out 5th gear motoring through the bush. Surprisingly, first car to pull into the control with a few seconds in hand is not Mikkela's Audi, but Aaltonen's Manta. Rumours are already circulating that both Mikkela and teammate Blomqvist have been seen stopped by the side of the road. As Aaltonen leaves the control in a cloud of dust, he knows he is now first car on the road, a distinct advantage on the Safari. Voldegaard too has dropped no time to this point, but has 2 goes at getting away from the control after co-driver Hans Theselius rechecks his the correct time. Hero to all the locals is Meta. Wherever he goes, he gets a louder and longer cheer than all the others. Vatanen eases his Peugeot past Bettica's Lancia. The Italian needed no service before the control and had 2 or 3 minutes to wait as Ari tightens his belts and roars off down the track at the start of the 66-kilometre section. Average speed 88 kilometres per hour. In the Audi camp there are long faces. Both cars have stopped and the helicopter has airlifted mechanics to the scene in an effort to get them underway.
Why are the cars late?
I think it's gearbox.
On both of them?
For us? Yes.
And how late do you think they're going to be here?
I think 30 minutes. Hano is 1 hour late. Minutes, yeah.
But they're both still going?
Yes.
Oh, you know,
Marku is another of the leading drivers to be penalty-free. Like the others, he is aware that from this point he can expect things to get tighter. As the attendant Lancia helicopter follows its charges through the beautiful Titus, it is Marku who emerges in the lead at the end of this section. A fairly smooth-flowing dirt track suiting the low-slung Lancia racers, and he was followed by teammates Bettiger and Preston, only 1 minute behind. With timing to the minute rather than the second, as on the majority of World Championship events, getting into a control only seconds late can be frustrating, as Voldegaard will confirm when he dropped an extra minute over the leading Lanciers. For Ari, the problem was a little more serious. Showing the reactions and car control that make him a world champion, he successfully negotiates the marauding Bovine, giving a few more grey hairs for co-driver Terry Harriman. Erwin Weber is confirming early predictions that he could be up amongst the leaders and ties with Voldegaard and Vatanen. 1 minute behind him is teammate Aaltonen. Meta shares times with Aaltonen, both the Safari veterans knowing it is far too early to make a bid for the lead. Mike Kirkland's Nissan is also well in contention and running trouble-free thus far, which is more than can be said of new Toyota recruit David Horsey, who has rolled his previously immaculate Celica. Although completing the section, he has damaged an oil cooler and is soon to retire with engine problems. There are another 250 kilometres to go before an all-too-brief rest at Mombasa. With rain clouds constantly gathering, there are frequent heavy bouts of rain punctuated by blistering heat. These children are prepared whatever the conditions. After the Mombasa halt, tired crews face the long haul back through the night towards Nairobi, skirting Mount Kilimanjaro, and through the Amboseli National Park, with all the hazards that that entails. The final section, as dawn begins to break, is through the Machakos Hills, where rain has made conditions even worse than usual. Voldegaard has now moved into the lead after a consistent performance during the night, which saw Marco Alain retire with a blown engine. Erwin Weber has also driven well to hold second position at the end of the first leg. Niggling fan belt changes his only problem. Meta, as usual, gives the locals something to cheer about. He has a precautionary gearbox change back in Nairobi, however, just to be on the safe side, whilst newcomer Kankkunen has moved steadily through the field with a well-judged drive to hold fourth position. Apart from the psychological advantage of heading the pack, in terms of time, there was little in it at this stage. Mike Kirkland shared Kankkunen's time with 78 points lost, 8 behind the rally leader. Ari Vatanen and Terry Harriman did not enjoy such a good first leg. A broken fuel pump cost them time, and they were 22 points in arrears in 7th place. One of the hazards of driving in this part of Africa is the threat posed by the matutas, local taxi buses. Based on the almost obligatory Japanese pickup truck, they have a home-built passenger section built on the back. These have been known to carry as many as 40 people, with inevitable results. As the Safari Rally roads are not closed, this is a perfectly legal hazard. Vic Preston, plagued by distributor problems during the night, which have dropped him back, makes a spectacular exit through the water splash to the delight of waiting photographers. Ashok Patel, in yet another Nissan 240 RS, adopts a more cautious approach. The thought of finishing his rally embedded in the front of Matutu or drowning out in a water splash, not very appealing. With the assembled might of the many helpers finally winning, the intrepid driver lurches and sways up the hill and out of sight, hotly pursued by his passengers. For Salonen, it wasn't the gearbox that had let him down, but the turbo. A broken pipe plus annoying punctures cost him time. 6 hours rest in Nairobi seemed barely enough time to refresh tired cars and their crews before they set out towards the north, past the extinct volcano near the beautiful Lake Naivasha. Competitors had little time, however, to enjoy the delights of the Kenyan countryside, nor its impressive wildlife. With Voldegaard in the lead, it was left to Erwin Weber to force the pace, and force it he did in fine style. The veteran Meta is determined to go at his own pace, knowing that the rally hasn't even reached the halfway stage yet. Like Weber, Juha Kankinen is emerging as a driver who looks as if he's got years of safari experience behind him, rather than someone competing on his first Easter Classic. Behind him, the experienced competitors, Kirkland and Aaltonen, who realise the benefits of a consistent performance rather than flat-out motoring. Ari Vatanen and Terry Harriman look to be almost on a Sunday run, waving and smiling as the Peugeot picks its way delicately over the rocky track. As ever during this year's event, there was the constant threat of rain. The dark clouds hanging over the mountains, a reminder, if ever one were needed, that conditions could change, and with them, the fortunes of the crews. Lancia still have 2 cars running, although Bettiger had been slowed by distributor problems and collapsed front suspension on the run into Nairobi at the end of leg 1. Teammate Preston receives the encouragement of the crowd and lies just behind him. Yet another Nissan, this time in the hands of the Japanese driver Iwashita, precedes the Peugeot 205 of Timo Salonen, who is just managing to hold on to 10th place. Instances of stone throwing are not uncommon on the safari, and this year was no exception. Vishnu Ducha and his splendidly named co-driver Crispin Sassoon were one of the crews to suffer. As the last remaining competitors complete the section, they know they have a hard night ahead as the rally loops round towards Kakamega. Voldegaard had extended his lead slightly until around midnight when his alternator failed, but it was a broken rear damper that finally dropped him down the order, and by the first stage the next morning the rally had a new leader. The wily old fox Aaltonen was leading the safari. Teammate Weber was having the drive of his life, a broken oil pump being his only problem. Only a minute behind him, Juha Kankinen and Fred Gallagher. They had been off in a ditch during the night, but were nevertheless driving well within their capabilities. Meta too had been off the road, losing over 20 minutes. Punctures have also delayed his progress, but he still holds 4th position just behind Kankinen. Ari is still motoring nice and steady, and still finding time for the inevitable wave. Vic Preston had been moving steadily up through the field, the Lanciers really without the clatter of their helicopter, which followed their progress through the bush roads. Bettiger was still in there, his first visit to the safari being something of an eye-opener. He still couldn't decide whether the spectators in Portugal or the Matutu drivers in Africa posed the greatest hazard. Mike Kirkland had dropped from 3rd to 6th place after alternator failure cost him 27 minutes. Salonen had had a catalogue of disasters during the night, including punctures and alternator failure, and yet still remained cheerful. At service, at the stage finish, he watched as Peugeot mechanics swarmed over his tired car, and we managed to snatch a few words about his rally so far.
We have same problem like in first leg. The turbo pipes they came out 2 times now.
So where are you lying?
I don't know.
Too far back to mother?
Yeah. No idea.
Well, what about Ari? Where's he lying now?
I don't know. Like, I haven't seen him since 5-6 hours. We have different race here in.
Preston has managed to snatch the coveted #1 position on the road. But even so, Ari Vatanen is hard on his heels and will pass the Lancia before the end of the section. Aaltonen is still the rally leader, and the tension in the Opel camp has to be felt to be believed. Everyone has fingers crossed that this will be Little Finn's year. Crowd control in Kenya is simple but effective. With Kankkunen, Weber and Meta all fighting it out just behind the leader, the 1985 Safari Rally was proving to be one of the best for years. And as the second leg draws to a close, there was only 16 minutes covering the top 5. Bettiger is still plugging away, but outside the top 10, and now so far back he poses no real threat. The second Toyota Celica of last year's winner Vuldegaard is making up time, and although lying in 8th place is not that far behind that his second win is yet in doubt. The two Nissan teammates, Kirkland and Ambrosino, are in 7th and 9th place respectively, and within striking distance of the leaders, should they hit trouble. After pacing himself well and holding a good 5th place, Ari has a stone wedge in a disc brake, destroying the caliper and puncturing the tyre. With the help of his chase car, he makes it to a frantic Peugeot service halt.
You were filming in the right place with the cows cave. There you there. Oh no. You know, cows crossing the road. But you know, that's a perfect example to beginners, you know, how to brake and avoid at the same time.
It's turning out to be a pretty eventful rally.
Yes, I mean, yes, for lots of cars have already dropped out and lost time anyway. For us it went very nicely after Nairobi. Only now in this very last section we broke the brake disc and we lost nearly 10 minutes. But up until that point from Nairobi it went really nicely.
Had you made up any time after the Nairobi restart, Ari?
No, I don't really know what the score is. In the beginning of, right after Nairobi it was quite rough, I couldn't go fast, but after, well, near Kakamega and after Kakamega it has been relatively smooth, so we have been able to go faster. But, you know, we have just over halfway now, so we will see. Longer than we never remember.
The 1985 Marlboro Safari had a sting in the tail that few would have thought possible. Ari Vatanen out with a blown engine at the end of leg 2. Shekhar Mehta out, crashing at the end of the second leg in an appalling rainstorm that turned the roads into a quagmire. Attilio Bettiger out, again on the second leg with a blown engine. Owen Weber, for so long the rally leader, dropped to 5th by the finish. Rainer Aaltonen, a new gearbox cost him the win that has eluded him for 22 years. He finished 4th. Kenyan Mike Kirkland, he tried as hard as he knew and was rewarded with 3rd place for his efforts. The surviving Peugeot 205 of Timo Salonen had been plagued with problems, but still made it into 6th position and leads the World Championship Series. Bjorn Vuldegaard and Hans Theselius fought back to take a well-deserved 2nd place. And the winners of 1985 Marlboro Safari Rally, Juha Kankkunen and Fred Gallagher in the 2nd of the Team Toyota Europe Celicas. At their first attempt, they had driven at a mature and well-judged pace, belying their inexperience of this, the toughest of events. Winning rallies is a team event, and probably no more so than on the Safari, where pre-event planning, testing and practice are just as important as the rally itself. Ove Andersson's Team Toyota Europe organisation is made up of personnel from many different countries, all putting in 101% effort to ensure they are first across the finish line. Team manager Henry Liddon has developed the team of multinational drivers, co-drivers and mechanics into one of the most well-liked and respected on the international rally scene today. The Safari 1-2 result was a credit to them all, but one has the feeling that with Toyota's professional approach and attention to detail, 2 attempts at the rally and 2 wins, and the driving talents of Messrs. Voldegaard and Kankinen that the Safari will never quite be the same again.